Welcome to the Tick Tock Podcast. The clock is always ticking, so let's synchronize our watches and dive in. I'm your host, Callie Brigham, and I'm here to help you make time for what matters. Hey friend, another December podcast episode, which has to mean some more Christmas earrings, a Christmas sweatshirt, all the things. I'm in the Christmas spirit. What about you? And being in the Christmas spirit, I was thinking back on one of the best gifts that I've ever received for Christmas. It was a couple of years ago. It was a gift from my dad, and he gave a gift to me. He gave a gift to my husband, Josh, and he gave a gift to both of our kids, and it was cash. Okay, that's not where the story ends. My favorite gift ever has not been just cash. But here's the deal. He gave us money that we had to give away. We could not keep it. We could not spend it on ourselves. We had to give it. I'm telling you, of all the gifts that I've ever gotten, and there's a few highlights over the years, that has meant the most to me. There was lots of tears, lots of emotion, so much joy in the simplicity of this very, very simple gift. It wasn't about receiving. It wasn't about pretty packages. It wasn't about shopping. It wasn't about anything, but this is a season where we get to give something to somebody. That simple act and that simple gift, and I can think back and I remember exactly who we gave it to and how, and we took our time, prayed over it, each separately and individually gave our gifts. That I feel like is such the embodiment of what this season can look like and feel like. This is a time management podcast, right? We talk about how to manage and maximize our time. And if there ever is a season, maybe it's Maycember for those of you that might be mompreneurs on here, the craziness of May, right? Without the holiday and without Christmas, but maybe it's that. But the reality is that this holiday season tends to be full of a lot of shoulds, right? You should host the party. You should buy extravagant gifts. You should bake every cookie from scratch. You should attend every event. And those expectations, they can drain joy from what it's supposed to be. And it's still okay to give something. Again, that gift that my dad gave us, never will forget it. It's a gift that just keeps on giving. So what if this season we flip the script for you? What if we let go of the shoulds? You've heard it, right? You shouldn't should all over yourself. What if we let go of the shoulds and focus on things that really do matter? And it's not about doing less. That's the deal. It's about doing what's meaningful the most. So we're going to talk about how to simplify the season and rediscover the heart that comes along with the holidays. So the first thing we're going to do, you're supposed to trim the tree. All right, we're going to trim the holiday to-do list. So let's start there. I like to be practical. Every single week, I like to give you something that you can put into practice right away. So I was thinking about the famous Grinch line from the movie, from the play. Maybe Christmas doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas means a little bit more. But it's hard to feel that truth, isn't it, when our to-do lists are a mile long? So here's how we're going to trim and prioritize our holiday to-do list. The first thing that we want to do to focus our energy, if you have not heard me say this 100 times, then here's 101. Start with, or if you have heard me say it 100 times, here's 101. If you haven't, here's your first time. We're going to start with a brain drain. Hello. Yes, we are. You can always find the brain drain printable in the show notes. DM me. I've got you. And a little tease, there's going to be something coming in the new year that has to do with the brain drain. So stay tuned, as always. But you're going to write everything down. You cannot accomplish all the things that you want to or that you don't want to if it's in your head. All right? Your head is your mind and your brain and everything that's going on up there is a dangerous neighborhood. So you can't go in it alone. And that's what your list is for. Come on, girl, I've got you. So it's time to write everything down on your brain drain, from gift shopping that you still need to do, sending cards if you're going to do that, which, by the way, traditionally, I send New Year's cards because I found that having one more thing on my list this time of year of Christmas cards especially in this day and age when everything's kind of in real time on social media. Is sort of just a little bit different than it used to be. Everybody just sends a picture, right? A photo card. I decided that I was going to send New Year's cards, and here's my little secret. I just send New Year's cards to people that send me Christmas cards. That way I didn't have to update an address book and a spreadsheet and all of that. I just literally tear off the return address from the Christmas cards. Then I know you're hearing my secret. I know exactly how many New Year's cards to send. And the New Year can be whatever. It could be the second week in January, the last week in January. It doesn't matter. You could send out Valentine's cards for all I care. But anyways, maybe that's on your list. Maybe baking pies are on your list. You all know the story of my apple crumb pie, right? From now on, store-bought only for me. Tasted delicious, but it took like 5 hours out of my day. All right, so after you make your brain drain, you really just want to look at it and say, is this a non-negotiable? Like, this has to happen. This is going to happen. I want this to happen. Is this a nice to have? Like, it would be nice if I was able to get that done this week. Or is it a not necessary? All right. So it's a non-negotiable, a nice to have, or a not necessary. Let's just get real. And I was thinking about this and I thought it's really kind of the idea of 100 pennies or 4 quarters. So imagine spending your time and your energy as 100 pennies. That's just scattering them across everything that everybody else might have on their agenda, maybe meaningless tasks, things that don't matter, or 4 quarters. You know, we all have the same minutes in the day. And trust me, my son knows that. He loves to complain about playing piano. And I told him, he said the other day that if he didn't have piano in his life would basically be perfect. And I was like, well, dude, if that's the only thing that's not great in your life, I think you're doing pretty good. He's like, but I hate it. I said, again, if that's the only thing you hate in your life, I think you're winning. And the rule in our house is that you're just not going to quit. You're going to play it. Because as a musician myself, I've never met somebody who said they were really glad that their parents let them quit playing, right? Okay, well, I decided actually, that I was going to take the minutes that he actually practiced during the week, and we figured out how many minutes he sleeps, how many minutes, that are not necessarily usable minutes. And then we subtracted his practice time for the rest of his time. And let me tell you, he had plenty of time. So I just want you to think, are your minutes being scattered by things that are meaningless, or are you honing in on the most important things? 100 pennies, 4 quarters. So for example, maybe instead of cooking the 6-course meal, you have a potluck and everybody brings either a themed dish or one of their family favorites, or maybe it's a potluck where everybody has to get something to go from their favorite restaurant. Wouldn't that be great? We host a party. Actually, the kids host a party for their classmates. Every year, it's the first Saturday after school gets out. And the first time we did everything ourselves, all the food, and it didn't take us one time to realize that with teenagers and eating a lot of food and really not caring that much, that this needed to be a potluck. So that has definitely taken the pressure off. And again, maybe instead of attending every single party, choose 1 or 2 this year that are the most meaningful. The last thing in prioritizing and trimming the hospital, we don't want to end up in the hospital. The holiday to-do list is, this is such a good phrase. Write this down, put this on a Post-it note, have this as the background on your phone, write this on your bathroom mirror. Will it matter in January? Yikes. Have you ever heard anybody say that before? Is this going to matter in January? So the test is, if it won't matter in January, let it go. So whether that's making yet one more batch of cookies for yet one more cookie swap, or the elaborate DIY decor, it's not going to ruin your Christmas, is it? No. The answer is no, it's really not. Will it matter in January? And that goes with maybe overspending, whether it's overspending in our finances, and of course, overspending in our time. So the first thing is we prioritize, we trim that holiday to-do list. Let's keep narrowing it down. Last week, we talked about having your month at a glance or your weeks at a glance and starting to edit things out. All right. Number 2 is the gift of simplicity. This is about simplifying the season. So gift giving is a big source of stress. I get it. It doesn't have to be. Here are a few things. You may already be done, so you might just want to save this episode for next year. Some of you that get all of your shopping done in the summer or before Thanksgiving, just ignore this or reserve it for next time. But experience-based gifts, that is really what our family is starting to hone in on, whether it is with extended family, whether it is with our immediate family, whether it is things like tickets to a concert or memberships. This is fantastic. A museum membership, or maybe to a sporting event, maybe it's seats for the year that will include your family. Even a planned family outing, this could be an experience-based gift. I will say that I've learned that if you're going to do this and you have kids that sort of get it, you may want to go ahead and set the stage beforehand so that they don't have an expectation of a certain number of gifts under the tree, or, maybe they've already sent you their Christmas lists like my kids with Amazon links now. So you may want to say, hey, this is really probably, I'm not going to tell you what we're doing or where we're going, but this is really, I think, a priority for our family, that we get to do something amazing and have an experience, and you'll find out on Christmas what it is. So instead of cluttering their rooms with toys, and give them a memory, and maybe it's even an annual holiday movie night, maybe a little family trip. Okay, the second thing of giving simplistically is charitable giving. Again, my dad's story goes back into this. Amazing gift. I can still see the people's faces that we just randomly gave the money to. So incredible. But maybe you adopt a family in need or contribute to a cause that aligns with your values. This year, our family is doing something kind of neat. And if you want to do this with us, absolutely you can. I'll put the link in the show notes. But we are partnering as a church. We're partnering with something called an organization called the Timothy Initiative. And you can start a church. The goal of the Timothy Initiative is to have a church in every single village in the world. Yeah, in the world. That is then led and discipled by locals. $400. That is it to start a church. And if you've ever been part of a church plant or know anything about it, I mean, that is 1/100th. I was going to say 1/10, but that is 1/100th of what some people have to invest to start a church. $400. How neat to know that you are part of an eternal gift. I love that. Or again, charitable giving could literally be when you give somebody money that they have to give away. All right, so I have a couple more ideas on that too. Again, this might be for next year, but I think this is a good idea. I already mentioned that you're going to really want to set expectations early. Have honest conversations about simplifying gifts. Chances are the recipient will also feel the same way. All right. I just also have to say, I hope you guys like my stories, but I remember when the kids were little, I actually would Christmas shop for them at the dollar store with them when they were like really, really little. I would literally go around with a cart, grab some things, and they didn't know what was going on. I'm like, oh, take me back to those days, right? But really, we're prioritizing one bigger thing, a getaway or a memory or an experience. It's really, really a game changer. So much fun. Okay. Number 3 is it's time to declutter our space so we can have mental clarity. We've talked about this before with other great guests on, because that physical clutter will create mental clutter. So when we declutter our home, this makes space for our holiday joy, for our peace, and we are saving time in the future. Let me tell you some of the things that I mean. One of the things that I've started doing is declutter as I'm decorating. And what I mean by this is, if you did not put it up this year, donate it. Someone else might love that snowman centerpiece that you've outgrown. I find myself every year, I've got my Christmas bins, that I store, and I put some things out. And every year there's certain things I like, no, I'm not going to put that out. Maybe it is decorations, maybe it is ornaments, maybe who knows what it is. Go ahead and declutter those so that next year you are not wasting your time looking through all of the things and deciding, I'm not going to put that up this year, etc. Let them move on to somebody else who might need them. As a matter of fact, they might need them right now. There might be a family. Maybe there's a single mom. Maybe she has really low on resources and she doesn't have anything to decorate with. Maybe there's families with foster kids and now they all have ornaments they can put on the tree. So this is a really great way, declutter as you're decorating. The second thing is if you'll create a plan for tear down. So some of the things I've done in the past too is I will take pictures sometimes of how I decorated to make the next year a breeze. Do you ever forget, like, where does this go? Where do I like? And it's fun to mix it up. But sometimes if you'll just take a picture, oh, I like this. I like the centerpiece like it is. I like my mantle how it is. Just take a quick picture, save it in a folder on your phone, Christmas decorations, and then you're good to go. Invest in organizers and bins for labeled storage. This is huge. Like things go with like things. And then let's delegate the tear down. Maybe your kids, your spouse help take down decorations. This can maybe be a good bonding activity. One thing that I actually did for years, because we always would go out of town right after Christmas to go visit family, and I hated coming back to Christmas. I wanted to be done with it. Although now I leave my tree up for about a month and a half. I put it up early, I leave it late, it's fine. The colors on it could almost turn into a Mardi Gras tree for Mardi Gras, but what I would do is I would actually hire somebody, and it could even be a college girl still home for college. I would actually hire her to put my decorations away while I was out of town so I could come home to a house that was now Christmas free. Talk about time saver. And then I would have her organize it and label the bins and put things away. And she was much more efficient at this, and she was much more able to compartmentalize and just get the job done. Okay, so also just know that decluttering isn't just about decorations. Tidying the space where you're gathering and relaxing, having those clean spaces, it really is going to make it easier to enjoy the season. Okay, so a couple last things. As I mentioned at the very beginning, this story with my dad, I cannot get over it. Well, we have one more holiday tradition that is very simple and has really meant the most. The kids were in preschool, and it was the week before Christmas break. So for all the moms that have kids in preschool from 3 days a week from 9 to 1, you are absolutely maxing out those hours while your kids are there, right? So I come in just like every other mom, probably in my yoga pants, and thinking of all the things I need to do right after I drop them off. And there was this little coffee cart right in the lobby of the church where the preschool was. And I just happened to notice it. And then I noticed that they had a big sign that said RAK, R-A-K, Random Acts of Kindness. Come get your free coffee. And I was like, free? Free coffee? With the syrups and the whipped cream and the whole deal. And I went over, and it was a local church, and they wanted to bless all the moms, and all the coffee was on them. They had a little coffee cart and all the fun little holiday flavors and you name it. And I was just so moved by it. I know, little things, right? I was so moved by it that I was effusively thanking them. And I said, oh my goodness, thank you so much. What can I do? What can I do? And they said, really, just pass it on. Pass on a random act of kindness. And that is where a holiday tradition started for us. The week leading up to Christmas, we practice random acts of kindness. And it could be something very small. We've taken brownies to the local fire station. We've left a special note for our postal carrier, which then he wrote a note back to us, and then we wrote a note back to them. And we started this really fun little relationship. We have paid for someone's coffee in line. We have actually paid for someone's groceries in the grocery store. We picked out somebody that we wanted to, and we usually try to make our random acts of kindness anonymous when possible, but it's not always possible. And so she got up to the front, and we said, actually, we'd like to take care of your groceries today as a random act of kindness. And she started to tear up. We started to tear up. It was amazing. Told my parents. My dad got so inspired that he went to the grocery store the next day. He decided he wanted to do it. He said he picked out this woman that looked like she probably had 100 kids, and she really needed the help. And so as she was going through her grocery line, he said, this is what my daughter and her family do, and I want to do this for you. And she was like, oh my goodness, that's so kind. Well, as she was finishing checking out, she pulled out all of her coupons and, started scanning all of the coupons. And my dad's watching. And he said, she's a couponer. She got down to like $3 and something. I mean, probably from hundreds of dollars to $3. And he looked at her, he goes, you know what? I'm not going to steal your joy. He goes, I'm going to go ahead and let you pay for that. And he was like, of all the people I pick, oh my goodness, so funny. But that's really been one of our absolute favorite things that we do. It doesn't take a lot of time. It doesn't take a lot of money. It doesn't have to cost money. But what could you do leading up to Christmas that just has you take a breath from all of the chaos and just says, you know, a tradition doesn't have to take this time or effort, but it can really build moments that we remember the most. All right, so I hope some of these tips have helped you today. Just going back and recapping, trim that holiday to-do list. Think about gifts that are simple. Declutter your space for right now and have a simple holiday tradition. I would love to extend the idea of the random acts of kindness for you. So remember, it's not about doing less. It's about doing more of the things that are more important. Creating a season that has meaning and connection and peace. So by doing these 4 things, you can polish the present, savor the season. So maybe one thing that you can let go of today or make room for something that'll bring you more joy tomorrow. I would love to know what that is. Okay, as we wrap up this series on the seasons, we're going to get some good stuff coming up next. We're going to prepare for the new year. Are you ready? There's some new things coming from the show, new things to await that are going to be really exciting. And don't forget, if you are in a space and place that you think, I do need some new systems for the new year, remember, you can always request a free call. You can DM me, link is in the show notes, and let's chat because it might be time for you to take that next step. All right, simplify December. You've got this. God bless. Thank you for joining me on the TikTok podcast. Please subscribe, rate, and leave a 5-star review. Your feedback fuels our mission to help you master your time. Set your alarm for our next episode, and until then, make every moment count.